Her Journey to Healing, Reaching Women with a Desperate Cry is an 8-week Zoom seminar in which Kamala and Winston help women to start living their best life by rediscovering the image of God in their life. Kamala, a licensed marriage and family therapist, joins her husband of 16 years, an ordained pastor, to marry the clinical and the spiritual. You will begin living your best life filled with love, joy, and peace. Register at kwministries.net for this life-changing seminar.
So anxious resistant. So remember there were 4 categories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anxious resistant kids were on the opposite end of the spectrum. They didn't have a lot of self-confidence. They really clung to their caregivers, whether it's parents. When I say caregivers, I mean parents, grandparents, just old people in their lives who were, really part of that initial bonding experience. For these kids, they tended to have really exaggerated emotional reactions to stuff, but they also kept the distance from their peers. How did this translate into adulthood? That translated into anxious, preoccupied adults. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of formed less secure bonds with partners and feel really desperate for love and affection.
God is patient. God is kind. God is long-suffering. God never fails. God always hopes. God always trusts. God always perseveres. God doesn't envy. God doesn't boast. God doesn't seek his own, but is always seeking what's best for you. God rejoices in the truth.
That's right.
God doesn't define love. God demonstrates love.
What I find most fascinating is a children's book. A children's book written by none other than a child, Ariana. With this book, she talks about her journey to healing, and she wants to reach children with a desperate cry. To me, that is so mind-blowing because, again, as children, we are impacted in ways that we sometimes haven't dreamt of, right? Whether it's, we were muzzled as children, whether we were not hugged, we were not loved, whatever those situations are, and we did not deal with them. And guess what happened? We grew up to adults and we bleed out on the people around us. So if we can address these things as children, OMG, can you imagine what a beautiful world that would be?
So, Sister Sands, you have participated in Her Journey to Healing, reaching people with a desperate cry. How was it?
Awesome. It was a period like no other. It proved to me the importance of unlearning to learn. It was very enlightening, very burden releasing, and accepting oneself the way one was created, the way God intended for one to live.
Good evening and welcome to another Monday night with KW Ministries. As always, we are excited to be here. We have got a great lineup tonight. We have with us a great guest tonight, but I'm not going to give away too much just yet. If you've already been following us, you know from our advertisements who's going to be on, and you kind of have an idea of what we're going to be talking about. But we will get to that momentarily. As always, we always like to start off kind of with a background. We're always mindful that there might be somebody who's watching us for the very first time. And so we always like to give a background of where we're coming from and what we're doing so that you know. So what's KW Ministries? KW Ministries is a ministry that was developed by myself and my husband, really out of our own circumstances and our own experience. So I'll give you a little bit of a background. If you've been a human being for any amount of time, you have experienced some kind of challenge in your life. You may even have experienced something that you felt like was going to bring you to your lowest point. You may have experienced something that felt like you are never going to get through it. Similar to you, in our marriage, we came to that point where we had such a horrendous experience that we did not know we were going to make it through. As we kind of climbed our way out, not by ourselves, but with the help of God, we started thinking to ourselves, if we're going through these kinds of things, and if we have been able to connect with God in a way that has started to bring us through those things. Notice I said started to, that's allude to journey. Then it might be the case that we're not alone in this. Now, as you listen along, I'm sure you're already nodding and saying to yourself, yeah, you're right. We're never alone when we go through challenges in life. We are never the first person to experience the thing that feels like it's at its worst. And so out of that desperation, out of that place of desperation, this ministry was born. It was born as a place of encouragement, a place of feedback, a place of safety, where we could get together and talk about the things that have plagued us the most, the things that have challenged us the most, the things that have built us up the most, grown and developed us in some ways, as well as the things that we're still going through. It started out with this devotional, The Journey Begins. If you've been to kwministries.net, if you've been to the shop, and I'm actually going to bring it up on our screen so you can see it. If you have been to this site, you have seen this book. This was our first devotional, The Journey Begins. And this was a reminder that we're not alone in the struggles that we face. We are never alone. It says here on page 12, it's under the devotional title, Live for Christ. I have to crucify the flesh. Let's talk about some sacrifice, right? But there is good news. The good news is that I don't have to do that by myself. We're never alone. And so we started off this journey, starting with the devotional series as a means to really reach others who needed to hear the comforting words that we heard from God during our period, our desperate cry period. So we started with devotional 1. We transitioned from devotional 1 to the second devotional, which was a journey through spiritual warfare. And we knew that that was relevant because everybody goes through a period where you're fighting. Am I right? If you're listening to me and you've been through a period of fighting, you go ahead, you can like the post, you can say it in the chat, whatever. If you've been through a fighting period, you know what I'm talking about. And so this devotional was all about how do I journey through spiritual warfare, recognizing that this war that I'm dealing with, this battle that I'm fighting, is not really my battle. I'm in there. I'm in the trenches. But this was going on long before I was here, and it potentially can go on long after I'm here, because this battle is between God, the devil. It's between powers and elements far greater than us, and we've gotten caught up in the middle of it. So our devotional series was born. Then we discovered, wow, you know what a really great thing to do would be? How about we engage in conversation with other people about what their desperate cries have been and where their desperate cries have brought them. And so we started Monday Night Live talking with several guests about their own experiences and their own journeys. Now, if you've been with us for a while, and I keep saying this because I know some of you are regulars, but if you've been with us for a while, you may remember at this point, several months ago, I'm looking over to the side at Anarchy, not that she's looking at me, guys, but I tend to do that. But several months ago, we talked with Elle Cole, and Elle talked to us about the experience of navigating life with kids with sickle cell. And we had such a great engaging conversation. She talked to us about how she built her business around really trying to reach others who were in a similar spot, trying to navigate something that they never anticipated. So I say that tonight to say this. Every Monday night, we give something away. And this Monday night, we would like to give away this beautiful coloring book, a sickle cell coloring book for kids. And this was done by Elle Cole. This is part of her ministry to that community. We want to give this away tonight. And of course, how you get set up to win that is that you have to comment. So you got to engage with us. We're getting ready to bring our guests into the studio. We want to hear from you. We want you to ask us questions. We want you to comment on what we're talking about. And every time you do that, you give yourself a better chance of winning our gift for tonight. So that's kind of the background of KW Ministries. That's our gifting for tonight. While I've got the website up, for those of you who are watching along, I want to remind you how to navigate over here. So once you go to kwministries.net, you are going to see this page that's currently on your screen. There's lots of stuff to check out. We've got our blog here. We've got Bible studies. We've got tons of resources. If you are the winner tonight, then you'll be the lucky one to come to this claim your prize button where you will put in your information for your gift. But I want to direct you to our shop. That's your second tab. And when you head to our shop, what you will find, and this is coming up on your screen, what you will find is a link to all of the products and services that we offer. So not just our devotional series, we've also have the book that was written by our very own Ariana Taylor, our own daughter. She wrote My Journey to Healing, Reaching Children with a Desperate Cry, which is really a wonderful writing on managing chronic illness, teenage life, and the ups and downs of her experience. And that has been a wonderful way for her to express her journey in a way that not just other kids, but a lot of adults can relate to as well. We've also got on there our 8 coping skills to heal. I'm a little bashful here when I have to talk about my own stuff, but that is our therapeutic workbook. And I really love it. Yes, I love it because I'm a little biased too. I wrote it, but I really love it because it's a really great companion guide. Think of it as a therapist in your pocket. It's really workbook. It's set up as a workbook. So as you're talking through different issues, as you're looking through different issues and ways to cope, it really leads you to ask yourself questions and then shows you how to implement those things in your own life. So do we think it's great? Absolutely. Do we think that everything that we offer to you can be helpful and useful? Yes. And it's not just because it's ours. So thanks for coming, guys. I welcome you back again. Like I said earlier, I am excited this evening because our guest tonight is none other than Dr. Donovan Washington. If you do not know who Dr. Donovan Washington is after tonight, you will. But he is the youth director at the South Atlantic Conference. He has a passion for young people. He has a passion for ministry. And tonight we are going to be journeying through faith, reaching our young people. This should be appealing to you, whether you're a parent, a church member, a grandparent, a teacher, whatever position you find yourself in life, this should be appealing to you because guess what? Our young people are the future, and we get to determine we get to kind of influence what that future looks like to its good or to its detriment based on what we're doing now. So I'm so excited to get into this conversation with Dr. Washington. We are going to bring him on right after this break. Dr. Washington, welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We are so, I keep using the word excited. Really, I think we played out, but it's not played out because we literally are always excited to have a new guest in the studio. So tonight is no different. And what we're going to be talking about, I feel like, is such an important discussion to have, especially in the context of what life looks like now, all of the trauma and stressors we've been through in the last 2 years with a global pandemic, as well as things that have always kind of been happening that have impacted our young people and impact our very future. So let's start off here. Dr. Washington, how did you even get into the role that you're currently in? How did you develop a passion for working with young people?
I am a beneficiary of quality youth ministry. We grew up kind of different. It was not if you're going to church, it was we're going to church.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a household where you couldn't sit anywhere you wanted. When it was prayer time, you had to go up to the front too. And Sabbaths, and I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and so I worship on Saturdays. So on Sabbath, we would go to Sabbath school very early in the morning. Mm-hmm. We would go to the worship service. We would eat at the church. When I was coming up, they had something called lay activities, mm-hmm. where you would go out into the community and bless people. Even had a season called In Gathering, where you would gather funds. Then you would come back to church for missionary volunteers or AYS. Yeah. Then after that, you would have a social at the church, and then you would go home. And that was the lifestyle. Mm-hmm. That's what kept you out of trouble. You built lifelong friendships and relationships. The people who I came up with in that environment are still my best friends today. Mm-hmm. But more than anything, with that attrition, it puts something in you. Mm-hmm. And our youth leaders, our Pathfinder leaders, our AY leaders, even the youth director during that time ended up being my conference president now, mm-hmm. as an employer. And so it had a generational influence on me, which made youth ministry intuitive for me because I was basically regurgitating what I experienced.
Yeah. Now you mentioned it puts something in your heart, and we mm-hmm. always like to really flesh out those kind of statements, mm-hmm. because I think we say these things, but gosh, what do you mean when you say it puts something in your heart?
I think it's twofold. The first thing, it gave me a keen awareness of boundaries. Mm-hmm. I knew exactly where the line of good and evil was. Now, growing up in adolescence, you go right up to that line, mm-hmm. but I was terrified to cross it. Yeah. And that awareness stayed with me even as I matured. It kept me away from being disastrous, making mistakes I couldn't recover from. I learned how to operate within that boundary. Mm-hmm. Being in that environment taught me that crossing that line could be disastrous. And there is a lot of camaraderie, fun, fellowship in not crossing the line. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be embarrassed to be the good guy. Mm-hmm. When we got to Oakwood, a group of us, we called ourselves the good fellas. And it was basically it was basically us saying, no, we're not perfect, but we're not about that street life. We're not about that, that wild life. We took some pride in being the good guys. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so what was put in me was a keen sense of boundaries.
Yeah.
And then I think the second thing that was put inside of me is my responsibility to community. I'm not just living for myself. There's people counting on me. There's people pulling for me. There are individuals who are invested in my success. I had to be responsible to my tribe. And so very early on, if somebody got sick, you were at the hospital to see them. If somebody needed something, you had their back. When I was in high school, I got in a terrible fight, and one of my friends wasn't there. And to this day, he laments that he could not be there, to help me and to assist me. So a keen awareness of boundaries, in addition to my responsibility to community. And that includes my heavenly community, that God is watching me, that angels are protecting me, that the heavenly host celebrate me. Having an awareness of that community and my responsibility to it were the things that were put into me, and were a great virtue.
I love how you talked about that instilling of boundaries, that sense of community. And I imagine that really continues even to this day to shape who you are and how you operate and how you work with young people now. I can't help, though, but to be a little bit of a devil's advocate here. Bear with me.
Right.
Now, some people would say, or some people have said, or they may even be people who are watching who say, yeah, that sounds like it was a really great experience growing up. It sounds like there were some really good safeguards in place and things that made that a meaningful experience for you.
Right.
But some people have talked about having the opposite experience, where they grew up in kind of those somewhat same kind of structures, but their experience of it was different. What would you say to that person today who maybe their perspective of that time in their life is a little bit different from yours? What would you say to them if they didn't feel it was as great as the experience that you're alluding to?
Well, I'll push back a little bit. I think you're making an assumption that I said it was great.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I never said the experience was always great. Hindsight is always nostalgic.
Yeah.
It was beneficial. I was developed, but no, it was always great. There were times it was downright oppressive and restricting.
Yeah.
I would also say to the individual who didn't have the good experience, in my studies, I have discovered that the primary reason that people are no longer affiliated with church or their church roots is that they drifted away. There has to be some culpability at the lens at what you look at your experience. The church is a very easy scapegoat. Very easy. It's low-hanging fruit. It's very easy to say that these people were hypocrites. These people were imperfect. These people hurt me. And so therefore, that is the reason why I made poor choices. That's the reason why I have an affinity to things that hurt me, et cetera, et cetera. When in reality, you have to take a deep breath and say, well, maybe it was me, or I did not want this, or I didn't handle correction or discipline well. I have a very, very good friend who went on this 6-month crusade on the church financial system. And we have a really good relationship. She's a really nice person. And when you're close to somebody, you can tell them the truth. And I said, you know what is stunning to me? You rail against people giving money to the church, but you had no problem giving Beyonce $2,000 for floor tickets for the On the Run tour. And she cares nothing for you. This is an entity that paid your grandmother's bills, that kept y'all from getting in the street, that helped you while you were in college. And Beyonce's done nothing. And you basically mortgage your month or part of your salary, to give her money. It's all about choices and perspective. I dare not say people have not been hurt. I dare not say that mistakes have not been made by churches to push people away, to treat them unfairly. That would be terrible for me to say something like that, because church hurt is a very real thing. One thing I think we undersell and don't talk about is some people like the streets. Some people like some people like to have a good time, and those two perspectives are going to clash with how you see the process of the church experience. Did I have good times? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there were times I was refined.
Yeah.
And now as a middle-aged man, I can look back on it with affinity. But while you're going through it, no, it wasn't this pleasant thing. You know, I wanted to sit with my friends or use the bathroom when I wanted to, and I couldn't do that all the time, you know. And now as a grown man, and as I try to implement so many things with my children, I could adjust it. I think I'm more understanding and more patient and less brutal. But I do see the value in what I got. So that would be my response to that.
I love that response. Here's why. I think it's so important as we have this discussion about this journey through faith and reaching young people that, and I don't know if you're on the same page with me on this, but I think one of the things that has been a barrier to us sometimes in the past, not always, is that we've not been able to be as vulnerable about our own experiences and how we navigated them, so that we can have these relational conversations with young people so that they can also know, hey, I may not be going through the same exact experience that you're having, but I've been through my own, and here's how I did it. And here's how I want to give back to you in a way that's authentic. It's in a way that's genuine, in a way that people know that they're truly cared for. And it's not just coming from a place of you should do X, Y, Z.
Right.
So I really appreciate your answer.
Right.
So you've navigated this for yourself, right, and you're in ministry, have been in ministry successfully for many years. And you're at this point of, now I'm specifically in this arena of guiding, developing, and reaching young people. Tell us about how that experience has been so far.
It's been a joy. I've been at this for 6 years now. I've been in ministry over 22 years. And serving young people has been a joy. Now, I feel no pressure to be like young people. I don't talk like them. I don't dress like them. I don't use the vernacular. You use the phrase authentic experience. Authenticity is a key to all of this. And we need to stop it with thinking young people are these special aliens that need these innovative programs to bring them to Jesus. I think there are three main things that young people care about. Do you authentically care about me? Do you believe yourself what you're teaching me? And when I'm in trouble, can I come to you? And believe me, if you're using all the vernacular and dressing like them and trying to be cool, when they're in trouble, they won't come to you.
Yeah.
They will not. They'll see right through it. And they'll laugh with you. They'll be entertained by you. They'll take all your money and all your snacks. But when they're in real trouble, they won't come to you. Yeah. Because young people can sniff out authenticity. And if you care, in a minute, it doesn't take much. Part of the resistance to young people to modern religion is that they don't feel as if they are truly cared for. Do you like me? I was the type of person when I dated that for me to be with you, you gotta like me. Okay, like really like me. You know what I mean? Like you gotta think I'm the best thing ever. Yeah. I mean, you got to, even in marriage, I tell my wife that all the time. Like, I should never, ever feel in competition with anybody else. You know, I should feel like Brad Pitt. I should feel like Denzel Washington. You know what I mean? I know you love me. I know we built a life together and all this other stuff, but I need you to like me. I need you to giggle when I come around every now and then. And with young people, if when you from the moment you meet them, I have found if the next time you see them, you call their name, something goes off in their brain. They like that.
Yeah.
If the next time you see it and they say, you remember my name, that means something. And it starts a cascade of intentionality in order to build that foundation. So much so where you can be hard and they won't take it personal. You can say, you're messing up. You disappointed me. And they won't take it personal, you know, because they know you care. They know you care. You'll have seasoned parents who will call you and say they won't talk to me, but they'll talk to you. They'll talk to you. Can you help me with this?
Yeah.
Can you tell them they can't go? And I'm like, you know, now that's the worst thing you can do is be the hero. Say, no, I can show you what you can say or show you what you can do, but I can't raise your kids for you. But what they're yearning for is that authenticity. And you can even build it with your kids. Yeah. You know, if you're for any parent out there, if you want to have that successful connection with your kids, listen, with my kids, I can discipline them one moment in very assertive ways. And 10 minutes later, we're laughing and talking. And because they know he's not trying to hurt me. I was dead wrong. You know, this guy will run through a wall for me, but he's just trying to correct me. And that's where the balance comes in.
Awesome. You got a resounding "that's true" from Gloria. And as you were discussing that, just that idea that young people, if they know that you truly care, you can have those hard conversations, but it will still be taken from the place that it's coming from, which is a place of love, a place of respect, a place of genuine care. I love that. Pastor Taylor is
welcome back to America. Look at you, man.
How are you doing, Doc?
I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
Good, man? Good. I know she has been treating you well. I'm late to the conversation, so I'm gonna jump in because I have some burning questions that I want to get in here that I want for us to talk about. So that one of the challenges that I'm realizing and talking about young people and spirituality. Have you noticed? And if you guys already talked about this, just say been there, and I'll move right on. Have you noticed that their definition of spirituality is not necessarily ours?
I haven't noticed that. I have had a pretty consistent experience. So my definition of spirituality may not be real mainstream. You know what I mean? So there is a brilliant thread of spirituality, if you're connected to the vine, that connects to young people as well. I just want to say to everybody, I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel. I think that makes a lot of money. I think it makes a lot of headlines. I think it sells tickets to conventions. But true, authentic, biblical spirituality is generationally consistent. I believe that. I believe that. I don't believe the same Jesus that drew us can draw them. You know, the crucified Christ touch young people's hearts. We were at a church not long ago, and my child was sitting beside me, and she loves music, and we were in the middle of worship. We were at a Haitian church, as a matter of fact, and didn't understand a lick of what they were saying. She didn't understand, not a thing. And we walked out of the church, and she said, man, she's turning 13 next month. She said, "Daddy, I felt the Holy Spirit."
Oh, wow.
And I asked her, you know what that means? And she explains it. And I said, good for you. Now you keep listening to that voice.
Amen.
It'll keep showing you. I didn't have to put on a hat or take her to no convention or have a badge. You know what I mean? I think if the presenter is authentically connected to the vine, there is power in that, man.
Amen.
Amen. There's power in that.
So did you guys discuss this idea of authentically connected to the vine already? Okay, all right. So let me move on from there. Let me ask another question that I don't know if a lot of our young people are struggling.
Right.
We were talking the other night about this idea of being 14, 15, 16, 13, and some things that come with that. Drugs, self-harm, depression, this belief that they're not good enough. I was at dinner earlier with my niece, my 13-year-old niece, and Dr. Washington, I wish I could put up a picture of this child, as beautiful as they come.
Right.
And she doesn't think she's pretty because somebody at school said she's not pretty. How are you? Do you see that as you work with young people, and what is it that you're doing, or guide us on how that's being handled?
Wonderful question, Pastor. It is. We are living in an unprecedented mental health crisis. That's beyond ministry. That's beyond the church. If you're a pastor not referring to mental health professionals, you're in malpractice because some things need professional help. Nevertheless, what we're seeing also is the watering down of parenting. Okay. Parenting has made a shift where parents' guilt of what they're experiencing is preventing them from entering disrespectfully into the lives of their young people. Okay, into the lives of their own children. Workflow is preventing intentional, deep conversations on self-image, affirmation, and is being replaced by frustration, which creates self-fulfilling prophecies about who these children could be. One of the most devastating things you can say to a child is, you're going to be just like your delinquent daddy or your delinquent mommy. That's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm sympathetic to it, because if you have a single parent who's raising a child who looks just like the person you broke up with,
who hurt you,
that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. I've lived in a home like that. My father was abusive to my mother. And then lo and behold, I hit 12. I go through a growth spurt. I'm 5'9" now, 12 years old, and I look just like him. Well, what's she supposed to do with that? What's she supposed to do with that? So, this generation of parenting is so afraid of being offensive, so afraid of invading privacy. I don't know about y'all. I couldn't close a door in my house growing up. My friend, we'd take the nails off the door. Ain't no privacy. We are going to know what's going on here.
Right.
Every day when I pick my kids up from school, and I have 2 daughters, I ask them, did anybody touch you wrong today? Anybody try to mess with your privates? Did an adult compliment you weird? Before I drop them off, do you know you're beautiful? You know, you look so good today. You know, nobody looks like you. You know, I'd rather almost risk their arrogance versus their insecurity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, you know, we blame the church, we blame education, but parents have abducted a whole lot of responsibility. They've really let go of the reins. I don't think we should be overbearing and abusive as some of our parents were. Okay? I think there's a balance to be found.
Right.
But a lot of the mental illness and a lot of the dysfunction, particularly about self-image, comes from non-connected parenting styles.
Yeah.
You know, it's particularly cross-gender. A daddy's important to a daughter. Very important. If you watch the NBA draft, you see how important a mother is to a son. You know, and then seeing those relationships, it's important for my girls to see how I treat their mama. It's important for them to see how they treat me, to get a cue on how relationships should operate.
Right.
So, yes, I do see it, Pastor Taylor, and I think a lot of it has to do with parenting.
Doc, for the parents who have not gotten as close as you have to their children from a young age,
Right.
because it's challenging for any parent, or would you agree with me that it's challenging for a dad or even a mom who has not gotten close to their child from a young age to, at a 13-year-old, to then be approaching them to ask them those intimate questions that you just talked about? What guidance is there for that parent who just wants to get into the game? Their child is
right.
You with me?
Right. I think it starts with humility.
Yeah,
a
parent. Hold on, Doc.
Oh yeah.
A parent being humble to a child.
Oh yeah. Oh
Bring
yeah.
it, Doc. Bring it. I'm here for all of it.
Mea culpas. It is therapeutic for a parent to say to a child, "I haven't been what I'm supposed to be. I should have been there. I treated you wrong. I passed on generational curses.
Yes.
My mama hurt me. I'm hurting you.
Yes.
And you're not gonna be able to forgive that, but I'm here. You know what I mean? Yes. Starting with that kind of humility gets a door open that bravado won't.
Yeah.
That saying I'm your mama, I'm your daddy, you gotta listen to me. That's not gonna get you anywhere. That's not gonna get you anywhere. So that type of bravado has to go. Another thing, along with that humility, good parenting can't be concerned about reciprocity. If you get bent out of shape, that your child does not give you what you're giving them, you got the relationship kind of bent. That's not your boyfriend or your husband. Your child. Their frontal lobe doesn't expand till they're 25 years old. They can't even rent a car till they're 25 years old. Now, when they're 26, they're gonna come back and say to you, "Thank you for whooping my behind." They're gonna say, "Thank you for all the things you kept me in line," because they get it now. That's why most people get married between 25 and 28, because their frontal lobe is expanded. It's closed now. You can reason better. You've matured, but no child is going to reciprocate. No 12-year-old is going to come to you, mom, and say, "For the 9 months you carried me." So I appreciate that. But there are a lot of parents who say, "I need that reciprocity to be good to my kids."
No.
You know what I'm saying? They got to show some appreciation and some thanks. No, they didn't ask to be here. And they can't even do that. So if you're not humble and you're only concerned about reciprocity, even if you miss the window, you're not going to make any inroads with older kids. You know what I'm saying? You got to take some stuff.
Yeah.
They're going to be disrespectful. They're going to be kind of shut off, have the headphones on, want to be in their room behind closed doors, all the time. My sister passed away a few years ago, and her children have a callous from that. My niece and nephews, they are guarded. They're not conversational. Watch this. They don't respond to positive things in a way you expect. If you're insecure and say, for instance, Christmas, hey, I was thinking about y'all, I bought y'all X, Y, and Z, and when they said, and walk away, well, if you're insecure, you feel some type of way and you stop doing stuff for them. But you got to keep coming.
Yeah.
You got to keep calling. When you call them on the phone, they ain't got nothing to say, you say, hey, I know I'm here. And guess what? When they're 30, they're like, you never gave up on me.
Yeah.
You worked with me. You're not going to get anything out of the deal now. Parent who's trying to reach a child, you're not going to get anything out of it. And it's the same thing with youth ministry. If you think all of these people are going to sing your praises, parents are going to appreciate you, and kids are going to act like they could care less what you're talking about. You didn't get through, and guess what? And I've already experienced it. They'll get grown and graduate from Oakwood, and you'll get a phone call, and they'll say, yeah, you remember in 2007, you preached on this. That thing really got me through. And you're like, whoa, you remember that? They never forgot it.
Yeah.
Winston, I am 19 at Oakwood. I can quote you 5 weeks in a row what John Nixon Sr. preached on. Tetelestai, the real Superman, sexual healing. It was that authentic. You know what I'm saying? I probably can't tell you 5 of my professors, but I remember that. Because young people are drawn to that authenticity.
You alluded to, you've said so much.
Yes.
This idea, not an idea, really, a practice of humility. That really struck me because what I heard on the other side of that was that what people hear there is, I have value. And you started by talking about just a little bit earlier about that young person who it's so important the next time you see them, you remember their name. You remember to have those connections. And then as you were talking about your own family and your niece and nephew, and talking about, even if you barely get a thank you or a the fact that you remain consistent, regardless of what the response is where young people, where even we in our own lives have experienced other people as being, that person really does value me. That person really does see me as important. That person really cares. And I know 10 years from now, 15 years from now, when I see that person again, those are the things that are going to stand out to me. Those are the things that I'm going to come back to.
It's stunning how many people don't read the room. Like, I mean, who cares about a youth Congress badge or your sermon points when you can stand in front of young people and you can see some of their deficiencies just by standing in front of them. If they're not making eye contact, if they always sit in the back, if they're insecure about what they wear or what they smell, forget your program, forget the agenda. And after the quote unquote youth program is over, go to the back of that room and say, hey, I'm really grateful you came today.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you being here. What's your name? You're at camp. Go sit with the ones that nobody want to sit with. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you're really making a difference. You got a lot of talent. If they don't sing or sound as good and they got up to the front, let them know, hey, I appreciate you doing this. I think next time I want you to do this for me. And I appreciate it. And I thank you for it. That's where youth ministry and parenting, that's where the wins take place. The stuff that nobody sees.
Yeah.
It takes nobody cares that you're on a flyer. or any of that stuff. That all that stuff don't make the stuff that people, run off, or the stuff that people see, the behind the scenes care. Making a kid's day, making them feel special. COVID, you didn't get to see people for 2-3 years. And so I was in Milledgeville, Georgia a few weeks ago. I went back to a church, and the one of the boys came up to me and he said, "Hey, you remember me?" And it was one of those things where if I didn't, it would crush him. So instead of playing the dumb pastor game where I started guessing this stuff, I said, "Man, how am I supposed to remember you? You got dreads now. You just as tall as me." I was humble about it. I said, "Bro, there's no way you have changed. I guarantee last time I saw you, I didn't know how big you are." Okay. Yeah. And he said, it's so-and-so. I said, "Get out of here." Once he told me his name, because he knew I recognized him.
Right.
I was humble enough to say, "I'm not going to play this game. I know I don't know you." You know what I mean? I had no ego in trying to guess. But once I did know who it was, I could recall things that we had been through to let him know he was somebody important in the past. And that means something. Pastor Taylor, as grown men, it is devastating. And come on, let's just be vulnerable tonight. It is devastating when you have a mentor, a professor, a former pastor who meant the world to you. And you go up and see him again, and they don't even know who you are.
Yes, sir.
It hurts as grown men.
Yes, sir. Yes,
it hurts. Maybe in your field, Sister Taylor, somebody you work and they have no idea. But it's everything. When I can go to Decatur and T. Marshall Kelly is there, and he says, "Donovan, I'm glad you came and talked to me." Man, you walking on air. You like, whoa. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Watch this. I got a phone call a couple months ago. If he's watching, he can testify this. From Delbert Baker.
Yeah.
Phone rang. "Hey, Donovan, this is Dr. Baker." And I'm just like, what is going on here? You know what I mean? Like that's awesome, because I look up to him. Yeah. And we're just talking, and he's recounting times from 1998 and things I did. You couldn't tell me nothing for a week. Nothing. Now imagine a kid whose daddy's not home.
Yeah.
Or they catch hell. The only peace they have is when they come to your stuff. And you can't take time to get to know them and pour into them. That's everything. And like my kids, my own flesh and blood, forget about youth ministry, my own flesh and blood. I tell them all the time. I said, "Y'all, I don't care about nobody outside of y'all." I tell them, we walk. I said, "No, we walk in these places together." You guys are the most important people, to me. You build them up. You solidify, their importance.
Yes.
I don't scold them for walking in the meetings. I'm on Zoom and StreamYard and stuff all the time, especially during the pandemic. And they'll come just wanting to be near me in the camera. And guess what? The people who I'm dealing with, I deal with that. And they've learned I got to be a professional sometimes. Don't get me wrong. But they know that all this stuff I do is not more important than them.
They feel prioritized.
No way, man. For the rest of their life. And I told them, your job is to take care of me when I can't do it no more. I'm never going to a nursing home. I have programmed these kids. You are my retirement. Okay. So they've been programmed.
That you Kamala said you've said a lot, and you have. One of the most touching thing, instructive things that you have said to me tonight, and tell me if I'm hearing you right. Did I hear you say correctly? For all of you all running around saying you want to win young people and you want to do youth ministry, start by getting to know Jesus for yourself. Did I hear that right?
Man, you can't do youth ministry. You can't do ministry without that. It's our power.
Yeah.
It's our life. I used to love when y'all used to do those posts. You'd be walking around somewhere and you'd be like, "Not by might, not by power, you know, but it's the Lord. This morning's manna comes from, and what you're basically breaking down is the key. It's that's where your success comes from. When Samson was locked up in jail, and he reached up and touched his head, and he felt the hair growing back. The hair didn't mean nothing. It made him remember that God is still with me. He said, Lord,
yes, Lord.
Lord, one more time, remember me. That's relationship. We're going through hell right now. What's going to keep you? What's going to push you when administrators do you wrong? You know, when family life is tough, man, you gotta come to the garden alone while the dew is still on the roses, and talk to somebody greater than you. This thing will break you down. Life will break you, and we have an enemy that hates your guts. The things that y'all have been through, Winston, it's not coincidence. It's not an accident. The devil hates your guts, man, because you have the ability to change people's lives. So this thing that you think you can go on ego or talent or education, no, man, come on, man. We don't got one degree that we really were smart enough to get. One certification that we were really smart enough to get. It was the Lord.
Yes.
You know, all along. And there's a radar that people can pick up on that. There's a magnetism that particularly kids, you know, little kids. Like, if you ever want to know how spiritual you are, look how kindergartners act around you. They have a primal relationship with God. I think a younger a child is, the more natural their relationship with God is.
Yeah.
Little kids don't like you. You're not close to God. Little kids, they'll come hold your leg. You know, they'll come say, "Oh, I like that." That's why if you got somebody at your church who's good at telling the children's story, the little kids will come running to the front. They'll come because they get excited. You know what I mean? Because they can sense that this is something different. This is something special. So yes, man, I, you know, at 44 years of age now, I know without a doubt no one can do what they do.
Yeah.
If you're not dedicating it to God. That doesn't mean you're perfect. That doesn't mean you slip up. But if you're not operating with the abiding understanding that it's the Lord. And these guys in the Bible got it.
Yeah.
Like we glorify these guys. But like David, when he rolled up on the scene with Goliath, everybody was scared. And like he was legit offended for God. He told, he said, "Man, who is this insulting this being that's the most important being in my life?" Saul is shaking in his boots in the office. And then he said, and Saul said, "Man, what give you all this confidence?" He said, "Man, you don't get it. A bear rolled up on me. A lion rolled up on me, and they're dead now." That was God. He didn't say I was nice. You know, he was just like, yo, this was God. And the same thing can happen to this guy. That's the confidence we have when God is on your side. Man, I come from nothing, bro. Hear me closely. My dad is locked up right now. I don't have no daddy in the ministry, no uncle in the ministry. I come from nothing. I grew up in the projects, man. Nothing. I know what WIC is. I know what food stamps are. You know what I'm saying? When I know how to survive off a can of beans and some rice. You know what I'm saying? And when I look at where I am now, bruh, it was nothing but God. So, bruh, arrogance, being a big shot, all that other stuff. Nah, man, none of that stuff matters. We can make while we're on this world, and we ain't got much longer, but while we're on this world, we can make a difference if we're humble enough to realize all things come from the hand of the Lord, man.
Yeah.
That is so powerful. Kamala, I saw stuff popping up on the screen. You want to read a few before?
I was right there with you. There are two that popped up earlier that I wanted to go back to.
The first one that really struck me, Anake, on it. Amen. We just need to give them truth and not our own shows. Put aside the horse and pony stuff, man.
You see, Mom, Auntie Lorna heard the same thing I heard. That's why I went back to Doc and asked him. I said, am I hearing you right? That you're saying what I need is my own authentic relationship with Jesus. Yes. And once I have my own authentic relationship with Jesus, I can start with my daughter, my 13-year-old. My 14-year-old is sitting right beside me. We have an 8-year-old. We have a 4-year-old. We start there and demonstrate that authentic relationship to Jesus.
Hey, Winston, I got a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old, and they're both about to get baptized.
Amen.
I'm not using no picture book, no newfangled stuff. I said, what y'all want to study? Them jokers said Revelation.
Hey.
And the book we're using is Studying Together. Mark Finley.
Yeah.
All right, little black book. And they eat it up. I mean, I can't get through the study because they're asking questions. They're like, man, okay, I never knew that. That makes sense. Daddy, what's a covering chair? What that mean? You know, they want to know. I'm not the most righteous dude. My kids aren't perfect kids.
But they have a mother.
Listen, I wouldn't even say that. I'll say this, Winston. I'll say this. The cross still works.
Yes, Lord.
Amen.
It still draws.
Yes, Lord.
Okay, you can keep all this newfangled stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. God gives us skills,
right,
to be creative. He gives us abilities to be persuasive, you know. But let's not act like kids can't feel the power in the blood too, man.
Amen.
You know, they sense it, particularly when it's evident in your life.
This is powerful. They're writing me, telling me it's time to wrap up, Doc. I was late. Admittedly, I was late. So I had to keep going and going. Dr. Washington, I just want to say thank you so very much. I apologize that I missed the.
Man, don't tell people all your business. I get it. I don't care. That's your business. You're supposed to come on and pretend like nobody knew all this. You know what I mean?
I know, right?
Don't tell nobody. You're good, man. You're always good.
Thank you so much. We're very, 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 very grateful. My prayer is, and I'm sure Kamala said this at the start, is our hope is that something would be said here that would transform some person's life. And for me, the loudest thing on Friday night, we do some late night studies that for just a half an hour. There's a small group of us, and every night we leave with takeaways. And my big takeaway, Kamala, from this: if you want to go reach young people, go reach Jesus first. Be authentic. Go get to know Him for yourself.
It's been prophesied. Your young men and women are gonna see visions.
Yes, Lord.
Dream.
Yes.
We can't lose, Taylor family.
Hey.
We can't. This thing is going to happen. My kids and your kids are already better than us.
Yes.
They're already going beyond what we ever were.
Yeah.
Ever were.
Right.
They already are. They already. I see your babies playing pianos and all this other stuff, man. It's amazing, and it wasn't us.
It wasn't.
It wasn't us.
You are right.
We're there to guide and motivate. God gave us these gifts, man.
Yeah.
Now, what happens when you treat other people, kid, like a gift? Know all they mess and just treat them right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not intimidated by your mistake. You know what I'm saying? You're a blessing. You got a future.
Yeah.
You know, it goes a long way, man.
I don't think this conversation is over either.
No. It's not.
I know you're busy, but I know we got to do it again. Thank you all so much for joining us. Where's the camera? I can't find my camera. Well, come on, wrap up for us.
Thank you guys for joining us. Gosh, just like this has been such an amazing conversation. so much insight, so much growth for ourselves individually, and hopefully for you guys who are watching. We thank you again, Dr. Washington, for stopping in with us and just being you, giving us you.
Yeah.
And I think what we're walking away from this, and I think all of our viewers are walking away from this as well, with this idea of humility, authenticity, relationship with God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. We, of course, last things to wrap up, we have got a gift winner tonight that we are going to spin our wheel as it is right now. We had a couple of comments popping up, so we are going to spin that wheel now. As a reminder, while Anna Kay is doing that, our gift tonight is Sickle Cell Coloring Book. This is by L. Cole, who was with us just a couple of months ago with Cleverly Changing. All right, Anna Kay, who is our winner tonight? Drum roll, please. Glorian, tonight's your night. You have won. How you want to claim your gift? Remember, I showed you earlier. Go to the website, kwministries.net. Claim your prize. Fill that out, and we will send you your gift in the mail. Right there on the bottom of your screen, claim your prize, www.kwministries.net/claim your prize. Glorian, tonight is your night. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone have a great night. Join us next week, same time, same place for Monday Nights with KW. Couldn't get my words out, guys. See you next Monday.
Thanks for that, Dr. Washington. I'm great.